ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that don't know, Brad and I have been friends for a while through my brother. He used to work together with my brother. They used to work together in YouTube content management, right? You used to work with the
digital production studio.
yeah. So why don't you tell people a little bit? I mean, hopefully people watching me know me by now, but why don't you just tell the people a little bit about what you do and what your background in?
Yeah. So I'm Brad. I'm 28 years old.
This isn't a Tinder profile. I knew you were going to do that.
Is it not? Oh shit.
Hold on 1 second. Let me know, guys, if Brad's too loud or too quiet. By the way, and I'll shift his volume.
I can move my mic around. Sorry, always got to lead with the Tinder thing.
God.
Now I'm a social media marketing specialist for a tech company called Western Digital, working heavily in the gaming brand WD Black. And then, thanks, Anisian. And then, so working social media, heavily emphasis on gaming. Before that, as mentioned, I was working at a digital production studio, working with influencers and some of the gaming brands. They had a gaming channel called Legends of Gaming, which was a YouTube-based series, and which there was some fighting games in there as well.
Yeah, I remember Nick was showing me.
But yeah, generally, I'm a bit of a social media Swiss Army tool, and I kind of work in every little element on social media, optimization, influencer marketing, Twitch streaming, esports, more now so, brand marketing, and everything in there. And so I've just seen Nick's classic comment.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was waiting for you to do that.
I can't say that on stream, but he ain't wrong. A bit of a Swiss Army tool, and got more exposure. I mean, for yourself, I have more exposure to the FGC and more like the Mortal Kombat side of things, but just seeing kind of that scene and how it's developed, and had a massive interest in esports, and now I get to work with it in some regards, and it's fun. So I got thoughts and opinions on lots of things.
Yeah, well, that's
why you have a platform at which I can share them.
That's why I've got you here, because I want to hear all of the thoughts and all of the opinions. So you don't really work in a professional capacity in any way with the fighting game side of stuff, do you? What are the games that you'd say that you focused on?
Primarily, sponsorships dealing with around at the minute are the and this will come back later on. Tier 1 esports. So League of Legends is up there a lot. It's a lot of what we do in Europe. But I've seen there's just some bits around Dota 2 that we've done before. Evil Geniuses and Siege, CSGO are in there more often now. And there's been some stuff here and there with the rest of the the FGC space, but generally those tier 1 League of Legends, Dota, CSGO, and Siege, which is now up there apparently.
Really? Siege is a tier 1?
Yeah, well, this is going to say something came up a couple of days ago with esports.
I think it's popping in. Sorry, go on.
Esports Observer. No, it's fine. Esports Observer put out a PC games impact list, which is basically an esports tiering system, and they just moved Siege up on last quarter. I can send it to you if you want.
Did you say Esports Observer?
Yeah, I sent you the link because I got it up. Yeah, but they moved Siege up 4 spots after the international. The invitational. They moved Siege up 4 spots to like tier 1.
Oh, thank you.
But working mainly around those games. Some exposure to FGC, through. Obviously, I went to Critical Combat, which was a really good event. That's where I met like Jordan and Papa. And unfortunately, you and Nick were there as well.
Sounds about right.
But we tried to set something up there, but that was kind of the first kind of foray into fighting games and kind of a style, that style of things. But I've been watching CEO for years, Smash Drama for years, what's the word, Evo for years as well. Like, I always watch it. I'm just probably not fine tuned into the what's the word? The mechanics of the games. Always, like I understand the business side of it, but not so much, and the marketing side and the tournament side, but not so much the
fan base,
actual mechanics of gameplays. Oh no, the fan base is really easy to understand.
Toxic.
To a degree, yeah. It's a real shame, but yeah, they are some spicy people. Is the community? I mean, and then that's, don't get me wrong, like there's spicy people in every community.
Yeah,
Like
but we can
me,
talk
kind of
about
notorious one.
we can talk about community, because I wanted to talk about communities separately as a separate topic. Sorry, I'm just making notes as I talk. Sometimes I think of stuff to ask you,
Yeah,
and then
no,
I'm like blah, and then I forget. So I'm just making notes as we talk. So your first what would you say was your first foray, like proper foray into fighting games, and like beyond, say, a casual, when you started to analyze it in the same capacity maybe as you would the other tier 1 esports games? What was like your first real introduction to it?
when I was 9 years old, I punched my younger brother in the face because I lost him Ready to Rumble Boxing 2.
Classic.
That was my first real interest. So I'm not sure if this has gone into a therapy session or a
I was
breakdown.
gonna say, let me just lean back in my chair. So, where on the doll did he touch? No, go on.
No, like my brother was a huge, like my brother's playing. I think it's the same for you. My brothers growing up were huge Mortal Kombat fans.
Oh, hello.
Interest. Yeah,
Sorry, you
I'm
cut
here.
out. You said Mortal Kombat fans and then you cut out.
Sorry. I was gonna say me and my brother were Mortal Kombat fans. I'm not with Virgin Media, so I should be fine.
I am, so we might not be. But carry on.
Ugh.
Ooh.
Yeah, like we grew up like big Mortal Kombat fans and everything. You know, we played through there. But in terms of when it became about what I could do on a business side of that and how I could integrate that, like it wasn't really until Critical Combat did I see it that I was like, all right, well,
Okay.
like I experienced it. That was like, oh, I could really do something with this. Like I always knew there was a close knit community. You know, people always talking about locals, you know, people doing tournaments around their, you know, local area and who's big and etc. And then, you know, you always watch the big tournaments and you see like the breakout stories. I think I've told you before, like Arslan Ash was like one of the
Yes.
first things where I'm like, you know, it's crazy how these people have got such a fanatical, like, local scene that you now have people flying over to
Yeah,
Pakistan
Korean
to go
players
play.
flying to Pakistan to get bodied at Tekken.
Yeah, by some guys, you know, local, so you don't even know whether like the actual talent is. I mean, that comes back to another point about net coding, which, yeah, comes up.
Yeah, we'll
I
talk about
won't
that
claim to
too.
know. I won't claim to know the all the specifics, but you know the. I've watched more than a few of your streams and enough of and seen enough Twitter to know that it's a problem and discussed some of that with Papa before. But yeah, um, but yeah, no, like that's kind of been a Critical Combat is the first exposure to it as a live event setting and realizing, okay, this could be something more and something interesting.
So, for those of you that don't know, Critical Combat was an event held by Cyclical Gaming last July, I believe, maybe the end of July, and it was based essentially just it ended up being a round robin, but it was me, Foxy, Jordan, and a bunch of other British players. It was mostly a London-based thing, apart from Foxy, I think, who just came down to beat everyone. Yeah, it was an amazing day. Yeah. Shut up, August. And he hasn't really done anything since, I think, has Josh, because I think he's been busy with stuff. But yeah, so that was the first time that Brad came and actually saw, let's say, a FGC event. Because I mean, I guess it was a small one, but Ketchup and Mustard were there doing commentary, and I think it had quite a broad viewership. Because that was when Mortal Kombat was still quite popular.
Still quite popular. It only been out for a couple of months. It should still be popular.
Well, that's another thing that I'm going to get onto with you later on as well.
I probably want to start. I was gonna say I probably want to start at the game life cycle, kind of topic as well.
Okay.
To bring it because I think that ties into kind of esports. The two are kind of intrinsically linked at the minute.
Okay. Well, yeah. Go on, man. Start where you want to start, and then I just wanted to give people a bit of a background as to where you were involved.
Critical Combat, Cyclical Gaming. Josh had to set it up and manage it all himself. Did a really great job. Was local that was being streamed and had really good production value and everything for
But I was just gonna say, so that was your first real like fighting
That was the
game
first.
event.
That was my first LAN.
Yeah.
Determined like a LAN event for fighting games. Where it was dedicated to fighting games, and I was going there purely, knowing that it was going to be
Yeah,
about
only fighting games. Yeah.
Um,
But
but I
yeah.
think what kickstarted a lot of this conversation is the discussion about Riot and
Yes.
Project L. And basically, the point I was trying to make in chat a few days ago, and I'll recap for you, is that I I am in the firm belief that Project L will change up how the the production studios approach their fighting games. In terms of Project L is most likely going to be an always-on game. It's similar to League of Legends, similar to TFT, etc. There's going to be new content, there's going to be things patched in, there's going to be new fighters, but you're either going to have to pay once and you get it forever, or you or Overwatch, and similar to Overwatch where you pay once and you get it in, or it's going to be free and you can unlock everything, cosmetics, the
Mm.
League of Legends method, which is different from where we see a lot of fighting games right now, and what I see fighting games and the studios doing, where they seem to have a 3-year life cycle. Year one, where you just go heavy on launch and you put some, a nice big thing at 6 months in, um, and then you kind of filter out, and then you get to the start of year two, where you drop some more content and some more updates, but generally, um, content, generally the interest in the game is already starting to wane, so you're just doing it to pick up a second burst. And then year three, in which basically you're just in, life support for the game, and you announce the next one in the series
Yeah.
is coming, right? Like, it's all about hitting that big burst of money up front, getting everyone hyped and buying the game, rather than, that game having any longevity or legs. And I think where Project L or Riot Fighter will be different is that it won't have that barrier to entry in terms of outright cost up front. It will have, and this is all my speculation, but it'll be an always-on game where the development of it never really ceases, and because of that, you won't have that life cycle problem, right? Like people, if you go back to Mortal Kombat, people, because it was its year anniversary, people on Twitter being like, "Oh, where was the celebration for the 1 year? I thought they were going to announce new content. I thought they were going to do this," and then people being like, "Well, you you thought they were going to do anything for you, for a year, etc."
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
you're too needy and anything. And it's not really like, I understand how some people could come off as needy, and I'll come back to that point later on. But for right now, like, no, it's not really needy. A part of it is not needy. A part of it is conditioning. How everyone has approached the fighting game genre at the minute has been so formulaic. I mean, who's really done something different other than release new game, right? Have some DLC in the modern era. Have DLC, a little bit more DLC, announce new game, release new game, DLC, announce new game. Like, it's so
Yeah.
cyclical. Like, only SF5 has really committed to making something grandstand of it right now. I think if you look back at something like Mortal Kombat Armageddon, which I know you didn't play, but
The only one I didn't
they
play.
had,
Yeah, funny enough.
they had every character throughout the Mortal Kombat history up until that point, right, in the game. Um, and like, you saw that fighter base, right? You saw how many characters it could be in that game. And like, that's the potential that Project L has to be, and it doesn't have to be that off the bat, but like, that's what other fighting games could already be at. They could have a fighter where you could be at 100 fight plus fighters, and you have a dedicated game from there. You could be like Smash Brothers, where they have, or Ultimate, where they have what, 60, 70 characters, not including um Echo Fighters. There's a lot of ground that a game studio could cover. Um, and yeah, I just feel like everyone is waiting. Like, once a game launches, it's then you've got 2 years. You've got a year to really enjoy it, a year to start playing something else, and then a year to get hyped for the latest Kang, Ryu, Ken,
Yeah.
latest the latest reveal trailer that's just going to keep you ticking over the next 3 months until you trailer, or Evo. Oh, state? No. Okay, we'll find out more at E3. Okay, fine. They just keep you ticking along rather than actually any content that
But
makes you play the game.
but do you think that that is because of money more than anything else? So like the main thing that the Riot game is going to bring to the fighting game scene more than any other thing is that it's going to be far and away the biggest producer of a fighting game. Like NetherRealm is massive and earned a lot of money, but it's not even going to be a drop in the ocean compared to how much money League of Legends and Riot
Yeah.
are going to bring to the table. So they will be able to do
Yeah, if you look
maybe a bit
at
more of a consistent, say, content stream because they have that money coming in from Riot, whereas like Capcom have clearly shown outside of Street Fighter V, they don't really care about their fighting game division. Namco Bandai Namco are doing a lot. Like Tekken, funnily enough, you talk about life cycles.
yeah, Tekken 7's probably
But
its biggest.
But that's
peak right
it's
now.
5 years old though. Funnily enough, so it's
Yeah.
over the last two. But I think that is a direct result of the production values of the World Tour advertising the game and people realizing how good the game is.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's an amazing game anyway, but they're not even doing that much content anymore compared to somebody like. In fact, I think every single fighting game for the moment. I mean, obviously Corona's effed up a lot of stuff, but I feel like everyone, especially over the last since their world, so they had Street Fighter had their thing in December, their world finals. Dragon Ball had their world finals, and they both after that came out, both completely changed the game in terms of like they dropped a massive patch that changed a lot. Tekken had a big like hype patch as well. It wasn't as game changing as the other two. Mortal Kombat didn't do anything, and we can get to Mortal Kombat separately. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the thing is with fighting games as well.
The benefit. I just want to come back to that point that you made and tie it in with what August has said in the chat, which is quite rightly. Riot have one of the biggest things you can have right now, which is money. And experience with always on content, right? So they are going to be able to release something that will be given time to breathe and learn. And then August makes a point. You need to really, to get the most out of a fighting game, you need to really learn, right? Like you need to learn in depth. You'll bust into frame data. You're gonna bust into what combos max out, etc. How you can play it, and then and that takes years for people to really hit a point where they are playing, at a peak. And right now the game cycle doesn't allow for that. What's the biggest fighting game? What's the biggest game in the FGC?
Probably Street Fighter at the moment. Street Fighter or
No,
Tekken.
it's Melee.
See, all right. So I was gonna get to that separately as well. Then.
So yeah, because some people don't consider it in the FGC, but you look at how Melee is, and even Marvel v Capcom 3, right? What are those two things got in them, right? They've got years of in-depth knowledge and study into them because they were afforded the time to. And they're still some of the biggest games and most hyped games that you see at events like CEO and Evo because they've been so perfected. And people are doing things now where it's like an ascended in those games. It's like an ascended level of where the gameplay is, right? There's optimal gameplay, and then there's optimal gameplay to counter this guy's optimal gameplay, and then you've got to do optimal gameplay to match his optimal gameplay, and which is why it just layers upon layers of that stuff where you're reading your opponent and you both know so much stuff. You're going back and forth on that. That's something that the current cycle doesn't allow for a lot of people. But then you look at something like Tekken 7 or Street Fighter 5, where they've been allowed time to breathe, and these games are undergoing like a second life as fighting games. Yes, they have the promotion behind them, which is bringing people's interest back to them. The DLC is keeping them, engaged and people coming back to it. But ultimately, the game is the fighting game experience is not what it's not what your opponent does, right? Or how you beat your opponent. The fighting game experience is like your mastery of characters and your mastery of a game's mechanics. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, go on.
A fighting game is as much about how you fight the opponent as it is as it is how you're fighting yourself. Did you make the right read? Did you put the right input in? Did you drop the combo? Like, you just watch one of your streams and you'll see, you'll go, I dropped the combo, or I should have
Yeah.
hit that, or you know what, I guess wrong that he did this and this. You're not so much playing against what they're doing. You're playing against what you think you should be doing and what you know is optimal. And those games are now at a stage where they're allowed to do that.
Yeah. That's a
Where
good
you're
point.
allowed to exist in that higher state. And you see a lot of turnover in game with people. I think when it feels like they're never going to hit that point where the gameplay is never going to match up to that, right? And I feel like Mortal Kombat's in that spot, right? MK11's in that spot right now. Is how do you play Mortal Kombat 11 optimally, and are you rewarded for playing optimally?
I
If I watch your stream or I go on Twitter, the answer is no.
maybe don't use me as the
But
pinnacle of that.
But you see more and more people that get frustrated. You got people in your chat, frustrated. Like, it doesn't feel fair. The game
No.
was made to cater towards a semi-casual audience who will pick up and play, which is where Project L will be at. It was kind of trying to be, and I'm gonna say the words again, guys. Don't freak out in chat. I'm gonna say the word again. It was like they were trying to be Smash, where they appeal to the casual gamer while also appealing to the hardcore Mortal Kombat audience that exists. And they missed the entire point of that. They missed the entire point of what Smash is versus what fighting games are.
Well, see, so that
Don't
leads
worry,
in... Sorry, go on.
So I was going to say, for your chat, I made the distinction between Smash and fighting games. You're good.
Well, see, that's the thing. So,
You guys can chill out now.
one thing that is often lamented, especially at moments in fighting games, is the question of accessibility. So you brought it up and you were saying about how fighting games are, like Mortal Kombat is a compromise gone wrong. Mortal Kombat is, what do you do when you want to have that easy entry fighting game that is, easy, people have it easy, like easy mechanics, more options to win, blah blah blah. Do you think something like that is good, like from an outside perspective? Because fighting games require a lot more effort than, say, I don't know, maybe I don't mean effort in terms of to get to that top level, like people who play CS:GO aren't trying. But I mean,
The bell curve, well, the skills bell curve is drastically different,
yeah.
right?
So do you think that accessibility is an issue with these? Because Tekken is one of the hardest fighting games to play, arguably, and currently it's one of the most popular. But do you think that, as a casual fan, accessibility is important in terms of esports if you were going to make, well, in terms of making your game more popular to a wider fan base? Do you think that it's necessarily important for accessibility to be so lowered, or do you think that they should concentrate on something bigger, like doing a world tour or focusing on that sort of element to get...
Yeah. Okay. So if you're going to be, it depends on your business model. If you're going to be releasing every 2-3 years, you really don't care about accessibility or mass market. You're just trying to hit the same audience every single time and milk them for another $60. Like, generally speaking, you want to keep that engaged audience, maybe pilfer from someone else. Mass market isn't your appeal, so accessibility shouldn't be your appeal. If you're gonna go mass market from the off, and maybe because based on cosmetics, which is what most people assume Project L will be, just based on the league and TFT
models.
kind of the methods of money. If you're gonna go down that approach, you need to be accessible, because your bottom line comes off of more people playing and more people buying cosmetics. But what you'll see, and when you see in this esports chart here, right, is not a lot of these games have a hard barrier to entry. They have a very soft entry point, but a very high mastery point. And there's no reasons that fighting games can't do that. And again, I'm going to say the S word, and that's where Smash does it really well. Smash allows you to have party mode. You can play with items. You can do everything that kind of equals the playing field. But Smash also has some crazy in-depth tech, whereas Combat, from what I see, tries to have some of that with breakaways and confirms and fatal blows and stuff like that. Where you're just trying to reward someone or keep them engaged in playing. That there's always a catch-up mechanic for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it. But overall, I think it depends on what your strategy is with the game. Like, if cater to a hardcore audience. If you're going to be releasing something every few years, that's going to keep that going. If not, go mass market, and then once interest starts to die off, either focus in on the hardcore market that's still playing your game, or re-release a new game that's mass market 2.0. And I think it comes back to where it ties in with esports is, as you say, esports is, for a lot of brands, esports is marketing for your game. And that's what you're doing by the money that you put into esports as a business is going towards marketing your game. Like, there's no no two ways about it. You're not just helping some kids get a job and by being a pro fighter and stuff like that and supporting a scene. Like, yeah, you're doing all that, but it's marketing. If you have a game that's a good esport, the money you put into that is marketing.
Yeah.
And how some of the brands have marketed their games as esports is interesting, and how the FGC has responded to that as well has also been interesting. I think Smash and Nintendo have never supported Smash the way they could to make that game as big as they could. But I think you could say that for a lot of for Nintendo and esports. I think you could say that for a lot of their titles, right?
Mm.
And yeah, but Papa's right. Yeah, it is a brand thing as it is product. Yeah, it is about promoting your brand and product. Keep people excited coming into the thing so you can sell them the next product, right? That's again comes back to my point where I think Riot will be different. They don't need to sell. They need to worry about selling you the next product with their esports. They just need to keep selling you on what they're doing right now with that one esport. Well, that one product that you're currently enjoying.
Because they're not going to do League of Legends 2 ever, are they? They'll probably just
Yeah,
keep building
yeah.
on League of
And they
Legends.
could go do an MMORPG. They could do a League of Legends 2, but it could be 10, 20 years from now, like when they feel like it needs it. Um, like Dota 2 is it's Dota 2. There is a way that you can do it, but
I
generally
think,
speaking, yeah,
yeah.
esports is marketing, and Nintendo have never supported it. And now the brands are supporting it, but the scene had to develop itself before anyone really supported it. And yes, you have things like CEO and Evo, which are big tournaments. But from the way I see it, and Evo especially is really trying to. It looks like from all that activity, it looks like they're trying to shift away from just being a tournament and being more of an organization, that
Yeah.
does multiple tournaments and does more of the marketing. But essentially, the major tournaments and the major pinnacle of the SGCs for many years have just been hyper locals. They've just been locals that are just put on a grand scale.
Yeah.
I don't think it's unfair to say that you get the same kind of setup and experience, at a local as you would at Evo. It just happens to be that one of them is streamed, and one of them has money behind it.
Yeah, that's fair. So what is it that you think... I mean, this might be quite a broad question, and we can narrow it down as well. But what is it that you think, looking at these games that you've got on this piece? So if you look at the top 15 games,
Yeah.
World of Warcraft is 15 years old. StarCraft 2 is old. I mean, none of these games are brand new, as far as I can see.
Overwatch is a few years old.
Yeah, Overwatch is a few years old.
Fortnite is still only 2 years old.
Yeah, Fortnite is mad. But what is it? What is it? Do you think if you had to identify, maybe say a key thing that you feel like the fighting game scene would need to do to break into this top 15? I mean, it says PC games. Obviously, a lot of fighting games at the moment are on consoles. But if we were just to take it as esports,
I think Tekken was in 16 on this when they did
oh, cool. Okay.
in the previous one, so Tekken's up there.
So what do you think? What do you think they need to do to break into that next like level of I guess esports tiers, or in terms of product, because the production values at the events are good, but What is it that you think they need to do to break into that next level of awareness, shall we say, like public consciousness, to get people to watch more and buy more without having to change too much about, like Mortal Kombat did with accessibility?
Yeah.
What do you think they need to do?
If you're not gonna change your games to be more accessible or be more always on, I would look at what the esports models are right now. A lot of which is franchising, and guaranteed brand spots, etc. And I don't think that's where the fighting game interest is. I don't think, no offense to the current teams that are all involved, but a lot of them are self-funded kind of startups. People in the FGC who've made it, that they've made money and now they want to give back to their community. It's a very there is a very big sense of community within the FGC. I think anyone who comes in from the outside, and I'm still on the fringes. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm out here living in the FGC suburbs. I'm not in the inner cities. I'm not in the inner cities scrapping at the arcade, throwing bombs over who gets to play the next set. Like, that's not me. I'm still in the suburbs. But I think if anyone tries to come in and attack the FGC from the outside, it kind of turtles up in itself and resists. And I think you have to build out from inside. And I think you look at what the esports models are right now in franchising. You can't do that in FGC. It doesn't really work. Like, the best, what you could do is build squads and maybe have them do sets like the old StarCraft 2. Like, StarCraft, not even StarCraft 2, like StarCraft Brood War days, where you'd have teams and you'd run sets against each other. You could do that. Or what I was thinking the other day is, what's one of the most hypest things that you can build up in fighting games? What's one thing that gets people talking and works within the community that they have, and the kind of ferocity and passion they have. We'll call it passion because that's a lot better word than salt on Twitter. What could you do? I think you need to follow not the esports model, but the UFC model or a boxing model. And tournaments are fun, yeah, tournaments are great, but they're 3-day slogs to get you to, and you might see the person, you might see one of the top players play, you might not. You have to sit through, 3 days of pools just to get to the point of, his Sonic Fox. You sit through 6 hours of content just to get 20 minutes of Sonic Fox absolutely ridiculing someone at a game. With the latest brand new character who's everyone said shit, and he goes off and wins tournaments with it. Okay, great. 6 hours to get that 20 minutes of action, and was it worth it? You should more invest in, I think they should look at a UFC or boxing type model where you just focus on money matches and having champions, and you should promote that as, Mortal Kombat had a ranking system. For this, for their season they had their Combat League Intercontinental Combat, whatever it was called. It was called like 6 different things until it get to Final Combat. But they had a ranking system. I think you could just do money matches. You could have someone just basically promoting fighting game fights the same as you would anything else, because the skill is there. And that's how you get people in to try it, and they learn on the casual level because they can pull off some of the tricks and some of the tech that they have. But they know where the high skill is, right? How many people have picked up mixed martial arts and jiu-jitsu because because of the UFC, or do more boxing and stuff like that, even if they're older? Like, if you really wanna showcase the potential of your game, you need to be constantly showcasing the top talent in your game. And I don't think the current tournament structures allow that to happen. They create some good narratives, but I shouldn't have to sit through 2.5 days of pools and early stage brackets just to get to, is Sonic Fox going to reverse sweep? Is he going to do the comeback run all the way through? There's not enough peaks there. Whereas what you could do is you could have Sonic Fox and Foxy. You could have people do contender fights and Sonic Fox is your champion. So now you do big money match. That you get it.
So do you think? Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, but what a lot of these games have is, yes, they have individual talents, but they have individual talents within a team structure. And and Fortnite is probably one of the only ones on that list. I mean, StarCraft in there as well, maybe Ghost Hearthstone, but those are card games, and RTS is different. Fortnite's the only one where you have where one person's singular skill expression matters the most. I think fighting games are the only esport collectively en masse where it is down to one singular person's skill expression, and I feel like you should highlight that. Yeah, I feel like you should. Yeah, I just feel like you should highlight that kind of style and look at money matches. I think you look what Panther's doing in for MK at the minute. He's driving a lot of the MK community by
Yeah.
putting together events and stuff like that. And I feel like if you hyped up Sonic Fox as the way he is, or Foxy, and you challenges, and, you built these people up, they'd find their natural place. I think there's always going to be, and you create more of them as influencers, as well, which is where they have the most value as a singular talent. Yeah, so I just think right now FGC can't follow the current esports model. It has to break out and do its own thing. But I also think that's a great area of potential for it to become its own thing and do something, a lot more. Especially with some of the characters and personalities we have in this scene. Jesus. If these people could fight in real life, they'd be UFC megastars.
But see, so that's the thing, is that I think what it boils back down to as well is the thing that all of these games, or for the moment, so if we just take, for example, League of Legends, like how I've been getting more into the LCS and stuff and the LEC and all that other stuff, is they have the big the big traditional esports teams like Cloud9, Liquid, Evil Geniuses, TSM, all these people, FlyQuest, they all have teams, right? And the players, as you said, they put into a league organized outside of these teams, outside. So it's not just like that. Liquid has a team, and then the team themselves go off their own back to fight in individual tournaments. They just have this one big league that takes place over the course of half a year, and then another half of the year. So these teams have had lots of esports players. Like Team Liquid had a bunch of really high level Street Fighter players. Evil Geniuses did. There's a few of these teams at some point or another did invest in fighting game players, but then they've all dropped them. So what do you think why do you think that is, in the sense that
because none of the studios and brands are picking up and making it viable. If you look at how each of these devs behind these games have followed a model, that made it viable and supported it themselves and made it sustainable. What's the one thing I can say? If I'm coming from a brand point of view myself, if I'm looking at League of Legends, CS:GO, Dota, etc., I know when there's going to be a tournament. I know who to talk to go get it done. I know there's going to be weekly TV. I know there's going to be content made around this. I know it's going to be support, and it's got an active community. FGC is an active community, but it has hundreds of different shareholders, not just within the studios themselves, but also who puts together these tournaments. And NetherRealm made the first, and Tekken have made the with Tekken they made the right step in that they were going to produce and advertise their own world tour, and Mortal Kombat did that as well. But you could tell that they were just kind of following the model, an ecosystem that's been built up right now, and just slapping their brand over it. It wasn't most of what up until Final Combat. Every Mortal Kombat tournament involved in that progression was another tournament, and another TO, and another organizer. It was Vianality,
all the major, like you said, all the major tournaments.
DreamHack, CEO, etc., etc. And so I feel like teams were, as esports has risen, and as the expectation and the price of influencing and stuff is risen, the infrastructure around the FGC's involvement in esports hasn't really. and it's not cost effective to support those people. And then let's not get into, there's the whole separate conversation we can have about the FGC mentality and the toxicity
Well,
that
we're going to get
exists.
to that in a minute.
Yeah, like that
We're gonna get
that
to that in a minute.
exists as well, which again puts advertisers off. Uh, the FGC more than anything has a bunch of loose cannons, who can all. I think at any one given moment, an FGC player can have a heated gamer moment, before they realize what's going on, and that's too much of sponsors. So the cost of entry is increased, but the rate of return hasn't, or it's potentially even diminished. And again, I think that does come back also. A lot of heat should come back onto Nintendo for that, for how they never really invested in the Smash scene. But then I think you also have to look at how Japan, which is going to be that's the second primary audience for fighting games.
Well, I mean, that's the mecca of it, at the very least.
Japan doesn't have a system that allows fighting games to a fighting game tournament structure to thrive, right?
No,
Isn't
you
it?
need
If I
to.
remember rightly, you can't reclaim most of your winnings.
Yeah, you need to have a license. You need to be a licensed player, otherwise you're not allowed to get. Because they consider it to be gambling, so
Yeah.
you can't make a living from it because you get like an absolute pittance. So if you like Momochi won a massive tournament, I can't remember, and instead of winning $50,000, he won like $500 because he refused to get a license because he doesn't agree with it. So
Yeah. So you have an issue in that your fighting game mecca isn't allowing that industry to thrive anyway. So then you do have to look towards the Western audience to kind of develop the scene for you. And Western developers, NRS, probably the only ones that are really doing it.
yeah,
Like,
and I wouldn't use them as a beacon.
and then not a great benchmark, which is why Andy, cousin Andy, I see you in the chat, is why I want to come back to Riot Games and Project L and how that will change things. Is because they're not beholden to the same concerns. They have a massive Western audience who would be allowed to thrive in the system, and they wouldn't be restricted by the prize tournaments and the skill gap. Like, there is a massive skill gap between the primary Western players and the Eastern players, right? Project L has the opportunity as to give a Western lead to the FGC and hopefully pull things forward from there. I think overall Japan is lagging behind where everyone else is with esports. And again, it comes back to that point, right? It's the legislation. If they change the legislation that allows people to compete and take prize money and do anything like that, you'll probably see an increase, especially in Japan and that Eastern audience, because they're so dominant. But like for right now, you've got to look to your Antis and your Sonic Foxes and your Arslan Ashes, and these people are going to be the ones that drive the FGC forward, and the esports side of it forward massively as well. And again, I'm going to say the S word. Smash has the best example of that, of Western influence on the game and on the tournament. They've driven it forward without the guidance or help of Nintendo, and they've made it into one of like the must-see events, like of any tournament, where it's an active outcry when you don't have melee at a tournament. Like,
so do you think then that like say League of Legends, right? Riot is the one that organizes the LCS, right, and all these massive. It's them themselves that do it, right? They're the ones that organize.
yeah.
Yeah. So, do you?
Sorry, could I just reply to Nish? Sorry,
Yeah,
because
go on.
see him says it a couple times. The initial amount is cool, and so for people who are on audio only, they didn't see how hard these games are to pick up and learn, hit that wall and stop being interested. They had the numbers, but fans hit the wall in terms of the bell curve, which is what we're talking about. But that, I think, ties back into what Papa said earlier, is you need a champion of your game. Riot have made, over the course of many years, have put several champions in their game, of champion influencers who drove interest in their game forward and kept people playing. I'm a Cutie Pie made it fun to be a troll. Tyler 1 makes it fun to rage, and you feel validation in your feelings of upset. That even though you're hitting the curve, you're hitting the wall, and your next step of progression, they made it fun to continue to do.
So community
And
leaders, basically,
yeah,
like.
they made it fun to be at your level, and that's where the comparison comes back to UFC as well, in terms of how you have the champions. Those champions are your spokespeople. Those people are going to be the ones that drive fans to come watch you, for fans to go out and compete their own. And they're not going to hide the fact that it takes a lot of work to get there, but they're going to encourage you every step of the way to, continue competing. And you don't invalidate someone based on where they are. You make them enjoy the grind, which is how League, CS:GO, Dota, Siege, all these games. There is a there is a certain feeling you can only get from computer games, that dopamine hit, and I feel like fighting games, it's so easy just to hit the negative. It doesn't hit that right dopamine level. I don't think anyone's hit that yet, but I feel like that's again where you come back, where you need a champion, and you need a spokesperson and someone who's going to advocate for your game, guide you through the tough times, be a positive voice, and and take you where you need to be. I think every single one of those top four have a community leader and a community voice, and the FGC is old enough now that it should have those voices. But it seemingly pays to be more negative than it does to be,
But yeah,
positive
I
a lot
think
of the time.
that's a good segue as well into community, because I wanted to talk about community and toxicity in general. Because every game has toxicity. I mean, we were talking about League of Legends, and people saying that's a game. I mean, it's not a bad. It's a really fun game. It's a well-made game. Obviously, there's issues. Everybody has issues to an extent, but League is toxic at its core. The core fan base, a lot of them are toxic. And the same with any game. Any game, especially when there's anonymity involved, it's not even just games, it's the internet. The internet plus a platform to express yourself plus anonymity equals a percentage of people that are going to be arseholes about it. That's life. But what is it that so let me ask two separate things. Firstly, what is it that you think needs to incentivize these people? So say Sonic Fox, for example, right? Arguably the best NRS player, well, not arguably the best NRS player, the best NRS player in the world, and they've won countless titles, blah, blah, blah. So now, at this time, when NRS is struggling, clearly, and the tournament scene is failing, clearly, why isn't Sonic Fox using this time to promote NRS? What is it that these developers need to do in order to encourage the best players of their games to continue to champion their games when it's not the time to?
Bring in the old guard. I think if you look at any of the successful esports teams and divisions in there, I think the one thing to look at with the FGC is an esport entirely in itself, and it's composed of several games, and those games could almost be brands themselves. So you don't look at it, you shouldn't look at yourself as, oh, we're Mortal Kombat, we're comparable to League of Legends. No, look at it comparable to, how do you compare to Team Liquid? How do you compare to Cloud9, TSMs, Fanatics, T1s, etc.? Like, how do you compare yourself to those brands? And I think one of the first things you look at is what made them successful is they brought in the old guard to help people, and the people who've been there since day one. And they're open and receptive to feedback. Right now, it doesn't pay Sonic Fox to work with NetherRealm and support NetherRealm. Like, long term, yes. Like, yes, long-term money, you're looking at it going, oh, well, if this is a failure, then they won't bring back Final Combat next year. That's a little less money for him. But right now, he doesn't need to, because he knows that he can go play one of several other games and win out there. It people aren't tied into the games. You need to tie. Excuse me. You need And this can be a problem, if it goes wrong, it goes really, really wrong. But you need a symbiotic relationship right now between your influencers and your game. And you need them to advocate for your game, and you need them to promote your game as enjoyable and it's fun. They need to teach their game, you need to make it everything. And you need to make a game that's fun. And you need to make a game that makes it possible to teach people and makes it possible to bring new people in. And it isn't frustrating, and it isn't buggy, and there isn't terrible net code, and it isn't free, easy win mechanics for doing stupid stuff. You need a game that rewards you. You know, you need to give a game that rewards them as much as, they're rewarded. And I think one of the issues, again, comes back to that life cycle problem of a single game in a series. If the mechanics aren't changing massively, or you like from game to game, you are not 2 years into, you're not a year into Mortal Kombat 11, right? You are in year what, 20 plus of NRS? Like, if people are growing up with these games, they're not at a point where it's brand new to them. It's not a brand new game. The mechanics and the characters and some of their stuff, like, are minor changes. These are patch notes. A lot of new releases are pretty much just patch notes rather than new games. So you need to make sure that what you're putting out there as patches are rewarding to the actual players. And yes, Yankee, to your point, yes, I have noticed that they are team based, and that's why I said you need to do something different in that sense as well. But yeah, the point is, like, you need a symbiotic relationship. You need to make it worth the influence this time. You need to make it worth the player's side to want to advocate, influencer, champion, whatever you want to call it. You need to make it worth their time to promote your game. They need to promote it as well because it helps their long-term feasibility. You need to have a symbiotic relationship where you realize that what you're doing is working together to build it up. And you do need to bring in experienced voices to advocate for your game and give feedback and tell you what's right, what's wrong, and actually truly try and push that development. That's where Riot did so well with Valorant right now, why it's taking over. They brought in everyone from CSGO, League of Legends, Dota. They brought in Fortnite players, PUBG players. They brought in anyone and anyone who could classify themselves, who may have an interest in it. They brought them in to test their game, and the feedback has been, look how amazing it all was. Look how great it is. I'm loving playing this game right now. It's so much fun. Da, 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 da. More games need to do that. More studios within the FGC need to do that. Give Grace my love.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean that's a really good point, to be honest with you, because they don't more people. Fighting game companies will promote their own world tours. So they'll say, "Oh, there's the Capcom Pro Tour or the Tekken World Tour or whatever, Final Combat," but they won't ever sponsor players themselves. So they won't. Yeah, that's a really good point. Why do you think that is? Why do you think?
Because
do you think it's money, or do you think it's just they lack the wherewithal and the mindset to?
From an outsider's point of view, as I say, from watching everything develop over time, it goes back to my point. The FGC, as a community, never really grew upon locals on a bigger scale. Everything right now is locals on a bigger scale. Where is the content creation? Where is the demand for tech and teaching? And who's pushing that out there? How to get better? Right now, and for the last 5-10 years, by the looks of it, the FGC has rewarded the mentality of fuck you, you've got mine. It has not rewarded people as a community to get better. It rewards singular success. And the tournament structure means that Sonic Fox, generally, someone like Sonic Fox, it's not in his best interest to teach people to be better at the game or to help them develop. Because if he does, he gets less money out of the prize pool. Like, how can... And again, it comes back to what Yankee just said. Yes, these games here are team games. But it benefits you, not just in yourself, but it benefits... to improve yourself. It doesn't just help you, but for other people to improve and to get better and to help other people helps you succeed in that game. And right now, the FGC doesn't reward that. The FGC rewards pay me. Like, just let me win a tournament and pay me. Like, there is no one is doing the selfless thing to a degree of being like, listen, I'm a washed up guy, but I know what to do, but I don't know, I know how to get better. And this is what you could do, and here's some tech, learn this, learn this. There is some collaboration that happens, but it happens on such a high tier level, and usually in closed off groups, that it doesn't spread, that it's not helpful to people. Like Riot in their early days, a league was sharing videos on how to get better. Um, they you know what I mean? Like they were telling
Yeah.
people how to get better. Like they were telling you to say, hey, here's some tips and tricks. Here's freak. We've released a new character. Here's a character video on how it best works with. Here's some content creators who are making, doing stuff with these characters. Here's some interesting play and stuff like that. They were sharing that out to everyone so that everyone could enjoy it. And that is the benefit of having a PC platform. Don't get me wrong. But on a console platform, where's the help? Where's the support? Where is it on the homepage? It shows you what to do to get better or what the pros are doing. It doesn't. It doesn't reward you. You have to isolate. You have to improve yourself in this echo chamber, and you're only as good as what is around you. Which is why you get players who burn out because they stay stuck in silver and gold tiers because they never play against anyone better than them, or they're never introduced to tech that's better than them. They're never taught why they lost. They're never shown areas in which they can improve. They're just told you weren't good enough, and that's what makes it so frustrating for a lot of players. And it comes back to the community point, why it makes it so frustrating. Fighting games are so singular and all about you that if a person isn't succeeding, it's gonna go the other way. Like you're gonna hit the wall. Yeah, Nish, you'll hit the wall, but when you hit the wall, you're gonna be upset, and and it's gonna sound stupid. One of the good things you can do in this game is in these games that you see on screen here is you can blame someone else. In fighting games, there is no escape. You either blame and you've got two choices. You can either admit that you did poorly or you did wrong, and intrinsically it was your fault, and you need to learn and do that. Or you could do the other thing, which is what a lot of other people do, is blame the game and blame the producers and the developers, because that's easier than admitting that you might be flawed. But they're not helping. They're both so upset with each other. Neither side is helping. The developers need to help out and say, listen, this is what you could be doing better. This is how you overcome this. Yes, this does have flaws, and we're working on it. We'll patch that. But for now, this is what you could do. They don't do that. They just allow Johnny Cage and Cassie Cage to be broken for 3-4 months at a time and say, deal with it. And then nerf Garrus 6 months after Garrus was meta. Like, it doesn't make sense. Those things. And that's, again, Mortal Kombat as an example. But, like, because that's just where I'm most exposed. You need to be supporting your community. You need to give them tips and tricks. You need to help them. You need to say, right, here's a masterclass session. Here's what you can learn. Give them an outlet and give them something. Throw them a bone. Throw them a dog treat. Like, can you pull off this combo? Great. Like, here's a combo. Go learn it, and then they can go learn the combo and pull it off successfully. How good does that feel? As an SGC player, how good does it feel when you're learning Grand Blue and you learn some of the combos? How good does it feel to then be able to pull them off successfully?
Yeah, I mean that's like part of it.
And
When you hit a sick
consistently.
combo in the game, you're just like, let's go.
Yeah, but where did you find those combos?
By watching top level players.
Yeah, were they making the content?
No, just from slogging
you had to-
through 2.5 days of pools, and then I mean everything you're saying.
You're an
is true.
average, and the thing is, you're the hardcore gamer, and now put it out to the casuals. To the people that the chat was saying, people out there who are older, they got kids, they just want to jump on for 1-2 games, a night, maybe play a couple sets. Why the fuck should they sit through 3 hours of content when that could be a 2-minute YouTube video that you could embed in your in a client, or embed on your content, or put on your socials and promote inside your game?
So I think what you've done is you've potentially solved the issue of accessibility. So what you would say is, before we start talking about community as a wider thing, what you would say is that it's not about making your games more accessible and easier and introducing all these stupid mechanics just for the sake of casuals to succeed. What you need to do is create the game how you want to create it, and then make sure that the people playing are aware of all the potential that they can achieve, and
Yeah.
use the extra content as a way to keep casual players and all those other players interested, rather than just lowering the barrier of entry. Because the thing is that they're not gonna learn. If you make a crappy fighting game with shit mechanics like Mortal Kombat 11, the bad people are gonna stay bad. They might win a little bit more than normal, but they're never gonna learn why.
You're going to make it frustrating for them because they're never really going to improve beyond
No,
where
and
they
you're going
are.
to make it frustrating for the rest of the people that play, who
And then
are
for the people who can improve and can play and have the skill, you're going to make it frustrating for them because they're going to be stuck at a level they can't get out of because these people aren't doing things the way that they should be doing it. And then, or you go the other way, which is what Cosmic Andy put in there. Foxy called out that you can learn. He's been streaming more MK11 since he's discovered customs. What Mortal Kombat tried to do was pigeonhole you into a certain playstyle, not teach you about that playstyle or how to punish the playstyle, just telling you this is what you're going to have to play as tournament ready versions. Every other thing that we've introduced in the game is worthless. Why is it there? Like, those are irrelevant. You know, like, why introduce so many sets and so much potential and then say you can use these 3 variations, nothing more, nothing less. You know, that's it. That's your lot. How would you like to play against them? Go and find out. Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean Cassie's broken? Or Jackie's an issue. You're just gonna have to find a way around that. We're not gonna develop something for you. So they immediately put people in a box and then gave them no food and just left the community to starve. Whereas custom variations, it's like that was like a battery farm chicken. You know, you just put them in you just put all the players in this big battery farm and said, right, that's it. One of you compete and you'll be the best. You only the winner gets food. So you know, and everyone just went out and crowned Sonic Fox straight away and said, well, that motherfucker's gonna eat. And then you have this free range option and this custom variation option, where you can do anything. You can go out and learn yourself. You can go out and piece things together. Your community can. You look at games, and it's not on this list, but Fortnite's there on this list. But look at a game like Minecraft. Minecraft is a sandbox game, but the one thing it offers is variation and customization. And cosmetics aren't enough customization. With the skill sets and the potential combos that you could piece together with the MK cast, just with the sheer amount of moves that you could put together yourself, you could make a custom set, a custom variant. One, that would make it fun because people could play their custom meme sets that they could enjoy and actually play with it. And then for the top players, there's a reward. You keep putting your time into the game because you keep discovering new tech, you keep discovering new information. You have to choose which one you want to be. You either want to give everyone free range and say go out there and make it what it is, and we'll adjust things as and when, but we'll see what happens kind of sense. Rather than hard patching everything and saying this is too da 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 da. Or you put them in a box and say, right, we're going to give you food regularly, and we're going to teach you how to eat. And we're going to teach you, we're going to teach you why this food is good for you, why this food is bad for you. Sometimes we might throw in a few bad seeds, and that might make you ill and not want to play for a bit. But
for the most part, they're going to be encouraging.
This analogy is falling off a bit into it. But essentially, if you're going to put them in a box, at least tell them how they to live in the box. Give them help to live in the box and give them support. Give them food that keeps them going, and don't just leave them in a box to starve and fight it out amongst themselves, because that's what you have right now. And we will tying it back into community, like that is because that's where the community is right now. The community has been set in upon itself, and all it can do is cannibalize.
Yeah.
And that's not even getting into the bring back Melina players. Those guys are just a whole different world of crazy. But the nerf Garrett, the nerf Garruses, nerf Eren, buff Eren if you're Josh. Yeah, all these people who are complaining about how things are broken, etc., and how other people are countering saying they're not broken. You can play against it. Blah, 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 blah. They've been left to cannibalize themselves because they didn't admit that there were problems. They didn't admit that some characters needed nerfs and they were working on it. They never threw anyone in the community a bone.
No.
And then, because they didn't want to be seen as the bad guy that's over nerfing. But to sit around and do nothing just no one wins. Literally nobody wins. You just sat around did nothing because you were so afraid of doing anything, and that made it a problem. And this comes back to the point we made right at the start about money, and you said about Riot investment and where they are. Riot have a very stable income right now. He says as he talks about their billions and their 10-cent funding.
Yeah.
As I think about them, sorry. They have a stable enough income that they can survive around this stuff. They don't need um to worry about what the latest shareholder reports are. They're not under that demand to increase revenue by 60 million or whatever it is that Warner Brothers made on MK. They don't need to worry about that. So they have the time to go out and create something with artistic license. And I think, it, again, this all stems back into my original point of the current life cycle of game studios doesn't allow for a fighting game to take the artistic license it needs to be a success. Killer Instinct, I feel, is the best from what I've seen and how everyone talks about it. Killer Instinct is arguably one of the best fighting games of all time. It just didn't have the financial support to
Yeah.
allow it to
Agreed.
survive. And the games that do, and I'll bring up the melee word again, the games that do have financial support or a player base are allowed. They do thrive and they do flourish and they do pull in these massive audiences, and they're talked about in this historic context as what they are. That's what MVC3 did. That's what Smash did, irrespective of the developers. Kind of, nowadays we're so focused on the get me more money now, or boost my report. No one's taking that artistic license anymore, and that's where Project L does have the benefit, because money is not an issue, and the timeline definitely hasn't been an issue. This game was talked about, what, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, and it's still not even out yet because they're still developing. They're still developing it.
Yeah.
We have like 4 seconds of content that we've seen, so they're very clearly taking a very passionate, caring touch with it, and that should allow it to flourish generally.
Yeah, so do you think then? I mean, I basically agree with everything you've said, and in relation to, I know we keep brushing on community, and then using that as like a springboard for a wider topic. But if you're talking about community, what is it about the FGC community? Because as we said at the start, every single one of these games has an element of toxicity, right? There's no aspect of life where there's not one element at least of toxicity. But what is it about fighting games that you think that not even that I know you've touched briefly on, say, silence from the developers causes like the community to go in on themselves. But what is it about the fighting game community as a whole that could potentially, prevent fighting games in general from being included in this like higher bracket of esport?
So sorry, what the community can do better?
Yeah, what is it about the specific? Because I know you were talking, you messaged me recently about how you've been watching people complain about, and I know you used, like you said, Mortal Kombat is like your main, your main outlet for this stuff, like your main into the fighting game community through me, really. But what is it about that you see with them that maybe they do worse or better than, say, the League of Legends fan base? And do you think that the size of the FGC is what makes it seem like there's more toxicity because it's smaller than, say, the potential audience of somebody that would watch League of Legends?
It's can I say therapy? Can I say a lot of players need therapy? Is that an answer? As I said, I think the what you need is a positive mental figure that's put up on a pedestal by developers, and maybe not just intrinsic to their one particular game, but overall. I think you need to pick someone that can give you the right message and drive that forward. I think you need that more than anything, because if you can turn, as I said before, the fighting games are very introspective. You're not fighting as I said to you at the start, and I'm repeating it for anyone who's come in chat since or was watching since, you are not fighting just the opponent, you are fighting yourself, and that can be very frustrating as an internal feeling, right?
Mm.
Like, you're internalizing a hell of a lot of feedback. Am I good enough? Well, is it me? Why am I an issue? We're not really conditioned as human beings to realize that there is a limit for as far as we can go. The older, cooler heads, I think, are all aware. There's only so much you can do, and especially as in your case, skills start to deteriorate and the hairline starts to recede.
Thanks, man.
Gotta make sure I go.
Just a couple of shots.
It's been 10 minutes. I gotta make sure to get a couple of rigs in. Yeah, you gotta. But as people get older, they realize how not important it is. But what you need is a champion to teach your younger audience that it's okay to not be the best. Or it's okay that they're going to hit a wall, and this is how you get over it. You need to reinforce that positive mental attitude within your audience and tell people that it's going to be okay, and this is how you can help them. And it's up to them still if they want to accept the help. But I feel like if you do that, you'll increase the overall amount of people who do want to play a fighting game. And I don't feel like you should shun people who want to be casuals. Andy in chat is saying, I'm not going to debate this. The Smash isn't designed to be a fighting game. It's designed as a party game. Doesn't matter. There's a fighting game with mechanics and depth, as Nish said. There's mechanics and depth in that game anyway. It has an audience, and it just has an audience of casuals, largely. But it's a massive audience, and that's where the massive player base is. So if you want to succeed as an esport, find a way to appeal to that casual audience, which comes back to my kind of champion suggestion, where you treat it more as
an exhibition almost.
Exhibition matches rather than these tournament structures, which are just no better than you bringing around 7 of your mates and all sitting down and doing winner stays on. Like, what's the difference if you put a bracket on it? If you put a bracket on it, boom, you got yourself a local, and it's just you and 7 mates just having some beers, chatting shit. Like, there's no different from Evo. It's just scale. And like, you need to make the game accessible, and you need to make it rewarding or enjoyable to be a part of that community. I think that starts with a positive attitude. I think that comes back to how you are always trying to teach your players to do more and do better, and how they can be better, and what's optimal, what's not, explaining the differences to it. And you're always going to have a casual audience. As for numbers, you just need to make it enjoyable for them to be casual. To be casual.
To be involved.
They shouldn't be excluded. Don't get me wrong. I understand that as gameplays, it can be frustrating when casual players are rewarded for doing unoptimal shit. But you shouldn't blame. That's where it comes down to. That's where it comes back down to personal things. Like, yes, they didn't know any better, but why are you going to blame them that they did something and it worked? So you're going to blame them for not being good. And there's watching a lot more Siege content, and there's a guy who's going through the ranks, and he's blaming in his in some of his games. What really frustrates me is that he ridicules his teammates who are in lower ranks, and he's like diamond, so he's like one of the top tiers. But he'll say in his video, be like, oh, he's placing this there. Like, I guarantee that's because it worked for them one time, and now he's going to do that forever. And he didn't explain where would be better to help them, He didn't explain where it would be best to put that, or why that's unoptimal, or what shouldn't happen. But he also didn't really factor in that these people play a different game than what you're playing, And instead, who came off looking good out of that? No one. The guy looks like an ass because he's smurfing in an elo that he's way better than, and can just beat people with pure gunplay. He could probably win every game with a pistol at that low elo. So he didn't gain anything. He just made himself look like an asshole for ridiculing someone who's not as good as him. No one in his audience, the guy in his game, didn't learn anything. All he's done has been ridiculed. So he didn't learn anything as to why that was inoptimal, where he should put it better, what he should do better. And what does his audience gain? They're just laughing at someone who's not as good as the person they're watching, and they didn't learn anything either. So who wins? And that's where FGC is at. Like, that's one example I have within Siege within one video, but that's where like the FGC is at, like a ton. Is people just ridiculing casual players for doing this stuff and saying this shouldn't work, this bullshit wouldn't work, you wouldn't do this on LAN and stuff like that. And it's like, well, you're not on. Like, the thing I say is, you're not on LAN.
Yeah.
Deal with it. Like, it's easy to be negative and easy to blame someone else, and I feel like that again. It comes back to, it's very easy to blame everyone else except for themselves. And I feel like as a community leaders, the studios should be powering their community management to shut that shit down and promoting the people that are positive. FIFA has probably one of the most toxic communities, and don't get me wrong, I'm not going to go out here and stick up for EA and say that EA are bastions and that they deserve credit and respect for everything they've done. Fuck off, they're EA. But the way they treated the community managers of FIFA was horrendous, and they couldn't accept that they were being treated that way. And now they've gone silent, and the community managers don't even talk to them anymore. Not even sure if they're still with EA. But they don't deal with it anymore. They don't deal with people face to face because the community was so toxic. And you need to stamp that shit out. And they got rid of, one of the top players. They banned him, Kurt. They banned him from events. They banned him. Eventually they banned him from the game entirely. IP bans, everything, the lot. He can't play that game, whatever.
Wow, what did he do?
He was super toxic.
Oh.
And don't get me wrong, it's a 50-50. There are some things that he's justified in being upset about, but the way he went around his message was all wrong, and he got banned for it. And I don't agree. There's various shades of grey on both sides there, because it's EA, and generally most people would side against EA for their practices. But generally speaking, he had a point, but he presented it in the wrong way, which allowed him to get banned. And I feel like the FGC is in that spot where there isn't enough positive from the top down. There aren't people saying what you could do this, and this. There is no one challenging the audience to be better, because, as I said before, it rewards you for the right now. Fuck you, got mine. And you can't blame the players for following. You can't blame the people for playing the game that's been set up for them. That's the mentality that's been reinforced. No one's challenging it. So I think as a community, you need to be more positive. Quit your bullshit. Literally take 5 seconds and breathe before you post anything on Twitter.
Nobody's gonna do that.
And give the community, and from the top, give the community leaders, from the dev side, bring in community leaders who will stamp that out and talk about it. Ketchup and Mustard do a great job at that, and they take flack for it. And you see when they say something that is not controversial but is deemed controversial because the community disagree with it, and they get a load of shit for it, and they're called out as, with this, and this. You're sponsored, paid for, etc. It's all, you're just saying it because they told you to. And no, you do more of that on scale, and I think more people will realize that just being negative isn't going to get a response anymore, and you'll have a lot of people shut up on Twitter and in Twitch chat. You just got to channel people's anger in the right way and bring it introspective, and reach out on how you can help them. And someone made a point when I was talking about the Siege example. Someone mentioned that's just like Overwatch. It is. People are so happy to tell you what you're doing wrong that they don't stop to tell you what you're doing right. And I don't think that's just a thing exclusive to the FGC. I think that's something that all esports need to work on. Overall, is they need more positive voices. Sorry. Just 5 minutes of talking hard at you.
No, I mean, I understand. I mean, there's people people saying in chat, you can't police thoughts of opinions. You just have to hold that shit. See, you were sort of C4 sort of talking about where I was going to go. See, it doesn't have to be toxic. That's the thing. I feel like what Brad has been saying is that it doesn't have to be. Competitiveness doesn't equate to toxicity. If you're trying to encourage a positive mindset, obviously there are going to be assholes who don't listen to you. That's life. But one thing that fighting games definitely don't do outside of the community, like you and Gibbs and Benji and all those guys that do their own tournaments, you never really see the developers of these games, like NRS. This is one thing that really pissed me off about NRS recently, and I'll just say this, and then you can make a closing point, because I don't want to go on for too much longer. But one thing that NRS that did really, really, really pissed me off recently, I thought it was funny to start off with, but the more I thought about it, the more it upset me, was that they released... So, you know how they have the Towers of Time? Well, they released a Tower of Time recently called Toxic Fanbase. And at first I thought, oh, actually, that's pretty funny. And then I thought about it for a second. I was like, if that is how petty and petulant you want to be, and that's the attitude that you're presenting to your fan base, who are toxic for a lot of it, then how can you expect them to change or to improve their attitude if your answer to them being upset is to upset them? So, yeah, exactly. I definitely feel like you're right in the sense that these companies shouldn't especially like NRS, they shouldn't go out of their way to antagonize. They should and you don't have to apologize. It's not like, I don't think NRS will gain anything by coming out and saying, look, we're really, really sorry. We haven't given you this or that or X or Y. But they can still go out of their way to try and, like you said, to try and be a bit more positive and to try and, ease. The community is clearly in a bad place. They should be doing more to come out. And all of the fighting games developers should be doing this to a greater or lesser extent, is to come out and just say, look, this is the situation. This is the situation. This is how we're trying to address it. We appreciate there are concerns, but, unfortunately, due to X, Y, and Z, we can't work on it at the moment. We can't, there's Corona. We can't give you a new patch because none of us are in the office.
1 second.
So, thank you,
your sound cue didn't play for the following, so nice one, James! you gotta add that in there. No, I think, I definitely agree. When it takes a person, it takes a group of people, a very committed group of people with a very, to quote Thanos, with the strongest of wills. It takes a very strong group of people with very strong wills and determination to push through. But I think once you push through, you're fine. And I think it's very... I don't blame NRS Nish, you're right. I don't think Ed Boon signed off on it. But I don't blame one of the developers for going in and saying, "Oh, toxic fan base." I think that that's someone struggling to deal with the weight of expectation that's been put on them. And then not being given the right, this is where I think community support has to start at the top, and you have to empower people to do this from the top. You can't just accept things for as they are. And I don't blame them. Andy makes a great point about NRS stream chat. It's fucking horrendous. The amount of transphobic, hateful messages that you see in stream chat, and for far too long, what far too many people said, oh well, that's just stream, that's just Twitch chat, that's just what it's like. No, it doesn't have to be like that. Freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom of consequences, and I do think if you have a champion format, I think it was Six Damage said that Situation Damage said, oh, people, it's always going to be about being better than, it's a fighting game. It's always going to be being about better than them, being better than your opponent and someone else. And it sends back to my UFC comment. You can have that. You can have shit talk. You can have trash talk. You can tell someone that you think that James is an absolute trash player who's reliant purely on sand traps. You can say that Josh QT is carried by Aaron Black. But that doesn't demean someone's value as a person. It still does the same thing. There are barriers, and ultimately whoever wins that fight you two chatting your nonsense, Boomer versus Zuma, etc. You can still do all that promotion without needing to completely devalue one of the other people's existence outside of the game. Like that's where I find it very easy for and again, where it needs to come in from the top, and where the community leaders in NRS and community leaders who play NRS games and FGC games, and the developers like Bandai and NRS, they need to embolden the positive voices who will stamp that shit out, because otherwise it's just breeding negativity. If you're just surrounded by negativity all the time, it's like when you have data sets and chromosomes, right? If you have a 75% chance to, you bring two people together, there's a 75% chance your kid's going to be blonde, and there's a 75% chance, there's 25% chance your kid's going to have ginger hair, right? If you just bred towards that line all the time, you're going to end up with a lot more blonde kids than you are ginger kids, and that's what it's like with negativity. If you just let negativity just keep breeding in itself and don't put a stop on it, then you will end up with more negative people. And so yeah, I think. Sorry, sit down. Yeah, the original point was just the devaluing people wasn't in my original point. It's just much more talking about negativity as a whole.
Yeah, we're saying
And
why
and
is it?
I didn't
Sorry.
want to step into that realm specifically, but within our in NRS in particular, and the community manager leads and the game dev leads, that transphobic element is pertinent purely to that one game. Now, that's not across
Oh
everyone.
dang.
Negativity as a whole is across everyone. Oh shit! Thank you very much, Holly Spice.
Yeah, bloody hell. Thank you
Um,
so much, Holly. Jeez Louise.
God damn, go get yourself some Freddo, son. Um, but like
Thank you so much. Sorry.
you can you can be competitive without being a dick. You can you can have freedom of speech, but don't expect free. Don't.
Bless
But
you,
there
Holly.
is always
Thank you.
freedom of consequences. It's not. You are stepping as a gamer. You are stepping into the developer's world and a developer's rule sets, and you need to accept that. If they are not happy with you being transphobic, don't be surprised that you get banned for being transphobic. I'm not saying that NRS need to combat transphobia as a whole. Just remove the voice. Deplatform them. It works. Deplatforming works, and I think it's the same for anyone. And you can still do that. You can fight it in the both. You can deplatform all the terrible people, and then you can reaffirm the positive message from the top. And you can do stuff like Tyler One with his reformed stream. Wasn't a perfect success. I think if you look back, it's not a
Nah,
perfect success.
nah.
But you can do it from the top down. You need to empower there. And so my closing statement, is probably fight. It comes back to my original joke, right? Can the fighting game go get community? Go get therapy? Can a lot of the video game communities go get
Yeah.
therapy? Because I feel like that would solve a lot of it. People are very happy to blame others for their own lack of success. I think it's a coward's way out. And I think for SGC devs and publishers, they should be looking to help people so they're not cowards. And they don't have to, they don't feel like that's their only option. I feel like you should help people and support them. And eventually, and for the top players and for those who are stronger wills, don't be passengers to it. Call stuff out. Sonic Fox is one of the best gamers in the FGC, and he's a black gay furry. And you will never see that guy not use his platform to promote a message that doesn't call that out. You can have so much more of that in the FGC. You don't need to be of a minority or of a protected I was going to say species, that's not the word. You don't need to be of a protected group of culture. You can be anyone can stand up and say stop being a dick. And yeah, and I think that's the major step. I think within esports, you need to follow a UFC model where you have limits. You need a Dana White to control your Conor McGregor's. But I feel like that would be a best. You'd still get a lot more there. You get a lot more competitiveness, but within boundaries, and you'd get a lot more viewership as well because you're just promoting the best and go from there. I think there's wholesale changes you can make to the FGC and the dev cycle. But if you're going to refer it back to esports, which was what I was brought on here, I think you need to focus on the 1v1s and making sure that the people that are your champions do have a positive message. The last thing you want is a bunch of John Jones running around where they're supposed to be these absolute superstars, and they're out here snorting coke, crashing cars into pregnant women, and running away, only to come back and grab their coke and then leave again.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's a lot more John Joneses than there are Daniel Cormiers, and sometimes John Jones will be the better fighter. You can accept that, but you need to change what you can about John Jones that makes him into a reasonable person, rather than
I just think it's as you said as well at the start. I think a lot of it is branding to the extent where, as you said, heated gamer moments. I mean, I know there's a lot of, it's not exclusive to fighting games, but there's always seems to be some sort of drama where somebody says something, that they really, really shouldn't do. And I think maybe that's a thing that big sponsors are looking at. Like, they're not, a lot of the times that you see people being sponsored in games like League of Legends, they see that they don't just sponsor them as a TL fan or like a Evil Geniuses player. They become a brand in and of themselves for other sponsorships like Mountain Dew or gaming headsets, and they become a figurehead rather than just somebody who wears the shirt and enters tournaments. And I don't think that the FGC is at that point yet where you have the potential to have that sort of player. I mean, it's not big enough in general outside of, ironically, Smash, but I don't think that
Smash is not a fighting game.
Yeah, I mean, either way, even if you just take it as its individual thing, Smash excels in the sense that of the game itself, which, like you said, encourages people to watch it and to play it. Without that branding, which is testament to the game. But then if you do want to get those big money sponsors to come in and you want it to be more regulated and have like imagine having a proper Tekken league where each team has 3 players and they go head to head every week or every month or whatever. That would it would be amazing, and then you can promote it that.
You could do it like darts. Like, if you're not going to go the UFC model, go darts model. There's a league and every week they have 1v1s. And it's great. You got intro music, you got hype packages. You could do it for everyone.
Yeah, but that ultimately it boils down to it's just not big enough. And I think it is because of the lack. Because if you look at all of these top games, every single one of them is supported by the company that makes them as well. That's a key thing. League of Legends heavily supported by Riot. CS:GO and Dota heavily supported by Steam and Valve. Fortnite heavily supported by Epic. Is it Epic?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like Hearthstone, StarCraft, Overwatch, all of the driving force of the game's success and promotion is the company themselves. It's not just like, I think AJ, who does Celtic Throwdown, popped in for a little while ago and he said the companies support the organisers of the tournaments, but they should be taking the onus on themselves instead of just giving the tournament some money and being like, hey, deal with this, but do me a tournament. They should be putting more onus on themselves to come up with a better way of highlighting these players. And I completely agree with you. Honestly, I agree with everything you said.
Someone is waiting. The FGC is waiting for someone to take the first step, and no one wants to do that. Why, as a brand, would I want to? And if I put my brand hat on, unless I own the brand and have a passionate interest in it, why the hell would I pump money into something that's going to lose me money long term and eventually be a great investment for other brands? Doesn't make sense. No. But brands are going where they should do, and TOs, where can they go without brands? They can't. So the TOs are forced into a pigeonhole. That's why it goes back to the developers and the publishers to make these changes, because they are the people who can affect real change. They need to consult the elder gods, known as TOs, and the old school players and the people who've been doing it, so they can do it right. Otherwise, you end up with an Overwatch League. You need to consult with everyone who's been there before and do it and how they would do it, and then just finance it. But no one wants to do that. They don't want to do that step. And so it's just at a crossroads. And right now you see it on a local level that people like Panther are having to
Do the work that NRS aren't doing.
do all the work. And I still say TOs are basically locals at the minute. Still locals. AJ still having to do all the works that the brand should be doing. That the publishers and developers should be doing. Sickly or Gaming, the same thing. Everyone, all these TOs, they're having to do all the work that the publishers and developers should take on board. And again, that all ties back into the dev cycle, and from the top down, they are not given enough. They are not given enough of a leash to go off and do these things, because they are committed to the. It's all on a roundabout ways that you need to have the right mentality at the top that empowers you to do all of this stuff. You need to have someone that says, right, go out and do that money, and that's where Project L has that backing, from what we've seen, has that mindset, has some passionate Evo-based old school people on. You've got Project L currently from the outset of what I would see needs to be successful to make things a good esport in the FGC. They have every element of what we'd want. They've got money and backing, and they've got passion and experience.
And they're taking their time.
And they have marketing. Yeah, exactly. So time, money, passion, and experience. The 4 pillars of anything.
Which is what NRS, you can see with Mortal Kombat, didn't have any. And that's why it sucks.
They had passion. They have experience in terms of developing a game. They don't have esports experience. Did they have passion for it? Did they have the time to pull it off?
No.
Did they have the money to pull it off?
No.
So that's where, to come back to the original point, which kickstarted this whole thing, and for Andy in the chat, that's where I think Project L is set up for a success and to change things. If we're going to go back to the thesis of what started the thesis, this is why I think Project L will be a success in the right direction, or a push for FGC and esports in the right direction. The game itself may flop. It might not be a success, but the long-term vision for what it could be, I think, is going to be critical to the success of FGC. Yeah, the potential success and path for the FGC within esports lies within the success of Project L, because it will help people like Warner, Capcom, Bandai, whoever else makes fighting games, understand the changes. And then if you can make those changes, if you can pull those changes in, and that changes how things happen in Japan, that's better for everyone, because then suddenly you're enabling the world's greatest fighting game region to actually play their games.
Hold on,
and take everything to a new level.
I think we're getting off topic as well slightly in chat. I mean, let's just keep it. I appreciate that everybody's got different opinions, but let's just keep it towards FGC and esports stuff, because if we start going into semantics of who believes what and when, who's right and who's wrong. No, I mean, it's fine. I'm not trying to deplatform anyone, ironically, but I'm just saying I don't want it to turn into I don't want anybody to get upset because other people disagree or what have you. Because ultimately, what we're talking about is whatever the situation is. No, I mean there's no right or wrong. I'm not having to go at anybody, and it relates to what we're saying. Ultimately, the situation is we're just trying to spread positivity, regardless of that. Regardless of how that is achieved.
Here comes Daddy Papa.
Yeah.
Which is kind of irrelevant, but you need to be able to have a positive discourse with each other. Yeah. With other people, and people you disagree with in particular. And I think situation down you are right. And I'll address this point, and I won't address the politics involved. But generally, yes, if you create an echo chamber, that's the only thing that you're going to be able to, stuff like that. And that causes a problem. But at the same time, if you don't shut stuff down, you end up with the same problem that we see now. The FGC is a microcosm of a larger issue in discourse, and how social media has an anonymity. And James, you made that point earlier. And this kind of ties into what I do more as a job in terms of looking at social media spectrum as a whole. Social media has accelerated the decline of positive discourse, and the rise of anonymity has made it easier to just shun and screw yourself, to shun other people of dissenting opinions and go run and hide where you feel comfortable.
But on that note,
and the FGC is a microcosm of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say on that note, because that is literally a whole separate conversation, which I may get you on for at a later date. But yeah, I think I just want to I think we'll end it there because I think I don't want to. Firstly, I don't want to repeat anything. But
First of all, my voice is going, Jim, and that if I start getting to this social media breakdown, that's going to start costing you bits by the hour.
Yeah. No. Honestly, Brad, thank you so much for coming in. Because to be honest with you, I think you have highlighted a lot of issues that the fighting game community has as a whole, and I think a lot of that is that they are holding on to this the dream of being this grassroots organization. They want to be a grassroots organization beholden to no one, but they also want esports money. And you have to understand that you can't have one without you can't have the esports money without some sort of consideration. So yeah, but thank you so much anyway, Brad, for coming in. Is there anything you want to plug? Any socials or anything?
Follow me on @Games and Games. I upload content in bursts.
It took me a second there. I was like, you're not Games and Games. I mean, you have got content on there though.
I upload content once every 9 months, in 2 or 3 episodes, and then disappear again. Looking noticeably bigger each time I come back. I hope Nick's still here. Nothing to plug. I mean, go buy WD Black. That'll be really helpful. Feel free to bring your opinions and your flame to @VideoGamesYo22. And just general, yeah. If you see me in chat on Discord, feel free to message me. And if anyone wants to talk about it in more depth or wants to know anything about social media, etc.
Well, like I said, that is definitely a topic that I want to discuss at a later point. Because basically, I've just made a list of stuff that I want to talk about and who I want to talk about it with. So I've already got you earmarked down to come and talk about how important social media. Because one thing that I've trying to import on, especially the younger players, is how important it is to have a positive social media presence. I don't think people have quite understood that yet. So I'd like
your brand. Your brand is so important.
Yeah. But again, this is a completely separate thing because I've been thinking about it a lot. So
yeah.
I can have you on in a month or so, or whenever I'm down the line, we can have a proper chat about FGC branding. And social media and branding.
Yeah. Okay. I've got one thing to plug. It's sort your branding out. Don't fuck around and wait for it. Just brand yourself now. And if you need positive examples, at me, Optilulz on Twitter. At me, and I'll give you some positive examples. But yeah. Thanks for having me, dude. I'm sorry for rambling at you guys.
No, it was definitely constructive. I
made some long-winded points. You just gave me a soapbox, so thank you. Thanks.
I could tell you were feeling passionate about it. That's why I needed.
Yeah, man. I've been just been building up for a few days. Go enjoy some Grand Blue. Thanks. I'll say thanks to Holly as well for.
Thank you so much, Holly. Bless you again.
Boy. Continue to stan SoTM Gym on Twitter. Share your fan cams. And take care, everyone.
Yeah, catch you later, brother. Thank you.
Peace, man.
Peace.
Bye.